Hi guys, my apologies. We were finished unit 1. Now we're moving on to unit 2, lesson 1.
Hey guys, welcome back to Unit 2, Achieving Potential, Lesson 1, The Journey of Life. So, our learning goals for this lesson will be to recognize patterns of human development. So, first, we're going to be looking at the journey of human development. So, a lifeline is basically each year has a stage of development. So, for example, from 0 to 1 years is known as infancy. 1 to 3 years is known as being a toddler. 3 to 5 is preschool. 5 to 12 is about school age, and then from 12 to 18, during the high school period, you're known as an adolescent. And then once you're 18 and over, you are known as an adult. So the journey through life requires growth and development during every step. And growth and development are not to be confused as the same thing. Growth not only occurs physically, but it also includes mental growth, emotional, intellectual, as well as social. Also, in terms of the definitions of growth and development, growth refers to the physical changes that occurs in the body. But development is when skills are coordinated into complex behaviors, so abstract thinking basically. So growth in physical aspects allows one to support their own weight. As you grow older, different parts of your body begin to grow and you're able to support your own weight, of course. And Erik Erikson identified stages of the human span and the patterns of growth and development at each stage. And of course, they develop in an orderly sequence. However, every human is different. Everybody's rate is going to be unique and varied. Also, your rate of development does not limit your development. Everybody will develop, but at their own pace. So here's a picture of Erik Erikson. You are actually currently in your stage of adolescence. So adolescence is the stage of life beginning around puberty. So people used to be considered children before becoming adults. And to some people, adolescence continues until the age of 20 because many people believe that we haven't developed the maturity that we need in order to be an actual adult. And this is usually a journey of self-discovery. While you're an adolescent, you are constantly trying to find yourself and form an identity. To further explain, adolescents clarify who they are, what they can do, how they feel, what they believe, and where they fit in. Each stage of life, on the other hand, presents challenges for growth and development, and these challenges are known as developmental tasks. So Erik Erikson, as we mentioned before, defined the major challenge of adolescence as developing an understanding of who one is and will be. Also, when an identity is developed, one will soon gain mature skills, habits, attitudes, and knowledge. So, furthermore, adolescence is a time where you grow and you find yourself. So we're now going to be looking at the developmental life tasks in depth. So infancy is basically a time where you're trusting people or not trusting people. But children learn to trust others and feel secure that the world is a safe place. They're extremely trusting, and it is a very rare case where a child mistrusts somebody. A toddler, on the other hand, is about autonomy versus doubt. Children learn to do things with the minds of their own and act independently. So usually toddlers play with themselves. They don't play with others yet. That is in the stage of preschool. once you become a preschooler, your life is basically revolving around initiative versus guilt. So children learn to act with a sense of purpose and try again if not successful. When you reach the school age, the life revolves around industry versus inferiority. So children learn to work hard to develop their skills and talents, and they are to be proud of their accomplishments. So we're going to be looking at these stages more in depth throughout this course, but this is a brief overview. You are currently at a stage of adolescence. So your life revolves around identity versus role confusion. So you develop a sense of who you are and what you can do and where you're going. This stage of your life is all about making choices and figuring out what you want and who you are. So now we're going to be looking at the developmental life tasks of adolescence, which is what you guys are. So to understand and accept who you are is one of the most fundamental periods within the adolescent developmental life task. So in order to understand and accept who you are, you have to learn about your personality, your traits, and your skills. You also have to identify and honor strengths and weaknesses. Also, developing and maintaining a healthy body image is extremely crucial. Once you're an adolescent, you can then clarify your values, your standards, your beliefs, your sexual orientation, and your gender. And you should always be proud of your differences. Never be afraid to be who you are. So, making effective choices which help you mature are to identify realistic goals. I understand that many of you may have big dreams and big goals, and of course, those may happen. But one of the most crucial ways to make proper decisions is to identify realistic goals, things that are realistic to attain. Also, you have to develop and use decision-making strategies, which is what we're going to be looking at further in this course, and to make effective uses of resources. It is also extremely crucial to develop mature relationships with others. It's important to use effective communication skills because it takes two to communicate. It's important to express and respond to emotions appropriately. You must learn the importance of commitment, so when you say you'll do something, you must follow through with it unless something extraneous happens. And it's good to learn to cooperate and resolve conflict because these strategies can be of much use in the future. So, in order to achieve responsibility and independence, it is extremely crucial that you become autonomous by acting on your own and practice independent skills. Do your own laundry, fold your own clothes, clean your dishes when you're done with them. And you also must learn to accept consequences of your actions. You must look at the ramifications of your actions. Who does it affect? Does it impact you? Does it impact others? It is important to think ahead. Think before you act. And also you must consider the influence of your behavior on other people. And it is very important to take on meaningful roles in your family and your community. And this is also good to prepare for your career and your future because this determines your interests, your talents, and your skills. And you need those skills in order to achieve your goals. This gives you a chance to explore your opportunities in the long run. So now we're going to be looking at the areas of development. To further explain, significant changes throughout your life occur in other areas at each stage of life as you develop intellectually, mentally, emotionally, and socially. And of course, developments result in changes in behavior. Behavioral changes, obviously, are more difficult to recognize than physical changes. So, physical development begins during puberty, and this is when the pituitary gland produces a growth hormone, transitioning your body into adult sizes and proportions. This is also an increase in the level of sex hormones. So, the sex hormones in females is mostly estrogen, and for males, it's mostly testosterone. And this is a signal of sexual maturity, and sex organs in some cases begin to become fertile. Of course, some adolescents feel uncomfortable in their changing bodies, and this can cause one to become self-conscious. Hair may change as well as facial features, body shapes, everything. And many people are surprised by how much or how little they resemble their parents. Some adolescents focus on their so-called flaws when comparing themselves to those portrayed on social media. So if you see a woman with the most perfect body, the most perfect hair, girls may feel jealous of that, or they may feel intimidated. Same with men if they see a muscular man who goes to the gym every day. Anyways, once one becomes accustomed to these physical changes, they're able to use their physical strengths and skills. And this is the key to successful physical development, to recognize that one cannot control their growth, but their skills and behavior, or in other words, their development, can be controlled. You are very unique, and that is an amazing thing, and you should never be ashamed of who you are and what you're capable of. So now we're going to be looking at intellectual development. Your brain obviously had a growth spurt, and more connections were formed between brain cells, which caused you to develop more intellectual skills. As a child, you are only capable of concrete thinking, based on observing the real world, such as ice melting into water, water freezing into ice. But as you grow older and you're an adolescent, abstract thinking skills are developed, such as, why is this person the way that they are? Or what actually makes rain fall? So abstract thinking allows one to develop more complex thinking skills, and this is a sign of development. And as these are developed, one can be thinking more about the meanings of events or situations. Also, it is very crucial to make connections within a person's life. It could be someone else's life or your own life. And this is a time where logical thinking skills develop. So, one can solve more complex problems where they become skilled at connecting ideas. These ideas, opinions, and thinking will develop as one is exposed to new ideas. This can also cause one to predict creatively. This also leads to people making decisions and solving problems. And it also helps one plan ahead and take responsibility. So exercising your brain is extremely crucial with developing intellectual skills. This includes things such as questions within assignments, activities in school, taking on responsibilities at home, also seeking opportunities to discuss ideas and argue